Hello, new residents of Valhalla. I'm Ethan,
And this is also Ethan.
and today we are presenting you with a beginner's guide to Brawlhalla, the basics and what you guys need to know to progress through the game. So we're gonna
Absolutely.
get right into it here and start off. Okay, so as I said, today we're gonna be going over the basics to get into it. It's things you can learn to start improving your play and just basically start playing even and start being able to compete and have some fun with other players online here. Okay, so each time the game starts, it'll be a countdown, and your character is going to drop in onto a platform which we call the stage. There, we're going to talk about basic movement, which is our first topic. Obviously, we got left and right. Oh, one thing to note, both of us are playing on controllers, so we're going to be saying controller inputs mostly, but keyboard players can do everything. They'll just have to find the input for each of these things, and we know some of them, so we will add some of them. So, first, you move left and right on a joystick, and just left and right. When you're on the stage, you can run back and forth, just like so. Keyboard, I believe it's WASD first to move left and right. And that's basic movement there, left to right. Like any other game, A, or most other games, A is jump. And you can jump up and down just like this. You have a total of 3 jumps to use in air. And you can use those. If you jump normally, you're going to fall about this speed. If you jump and then hold down, you're going to fast fall. So it increases gravity, so you fall down quicker. Ethan, you want to mention dash jump really quick?
Yeah, so another basic movement option we have is dash. On controller, we use the triggers for this. You may use either trigger, and then on keyboard, you've got a couple different options. Those are in the controls if you want to look at them. But we use dash to move around just a little faster, as Ethan's showing us there on Hattori. And although dash allows you to get across the stage a little faster and switch up your movement with even a back dash, we can also combine it with a jump so that we get a little bit less vertical height, but we can just get across and evade attacks or get into a position to attack. So we call that a dash jump. If you press jump right after you dash, you get a very short parabola, I guess. And if you combine that with a fast fall, you can get really short dash jumps. So just practice that on your own, get those inputs down, and it'll be easy as pie.
Yeah, and like Ethan was saying, basically to get there, I would recommend practicing your horizontal dashes here, trying to get it nice and quick. And also, a thing to note, you will spot dodge, which we'll talk about in a sec here, if you do it a neutral dash. So what you want to do is input a direction to dash in the direction. It's like left, right, just like so. You got to push a direction and dash to dash in a certain direction. It's not just if you're facing that way, you have to push that direction as well.
Right. Only
And
once your character starts running. And if you back
yes,
dash, which is what happens when you input a dash right after turning around. So if I'm facing to the right, but I press left and immediately dash, you notice I can do a back dash, which you can only do, I think, when you're stationary or like running in that direction.
yes.
And that happens if you interrupt the turn animation. You see the turn animation. If you interrupt that with a dash, then you do a back dash.
Uh-huh. And like as Ethan was saying, to practice those dash jumps, those are a little bit more advanced. To practice those, practice your horizontal dashes and then jumping and fast falling, just like so, falling down to the ground faster. And then you can add them together and get a dash jump, just like so. Just practice both those together and you can start working through that. A little bit of a tight input, but you guys will get it eventually. Okay, Ethan, you want to talk about picking up weapons here?
Yeah, so you can
And
see
like weapon
anytime I
types.
stand in front of any of these items that are in the background, you see the little RB button appear. And that means that if I press RB, I will pick up the weapon that I'm standing in front of. Alright, slight disclaimer here. So a lot of you may have just gotten the game, and by default you have a setting turned on, and that setting is Quick Attack to pick up. And it allows you to use the Quick Attack button to pick up a weapon that's nearby. And it seems pretty helpful at first, but you'll find a lot of times where you mean to pick up a weapon, but instead you attack your opponent, or vice versa, you mean to attack your opponent, but instead you pick up a weapon. So just a quick tip, turn off that setting and you'll find that your games go the way you want them to a lot more often. Alright, peace. If it's one of these swords, it's a weapon. If I stand in front of this horn, I pick up the horn. And as soon as you pick up those weapons, you've got a lot of options. So with any of these items, I can press the pickup weapon again to throw it, and this charges it up. I can just chuck it in any direction, any of the 8 cardinal directions, and that will help you pick up weapons, throw them. You can even stun your opponent with them. So it's a very useful tool. But then again, remember, when you're without a weapon, you have a lot less options, and you're a lot less powerful. So just be careful about that.
Yeah. And notice how Ethan has already shown 2 of his weapons. So each character is going to have 2 weapons, but 3 movesets. So essentially, you can see me and Ethan both share spear here. And we both share spear. But then for me, my second weapon is a sword. And basically, each new weapon you pick up and throw away, it's going to rotate. So it's each time it's a set rotation. So like Ethan's like, for example, scythe. So if I threw my sword, I'm gonna get spear back when the next thing spawns. See, just like this, it's set rotation there. And yeah, so that's kind of picking up weapons and throwing them. And like throwing them was also to disarm yourself. And if you disarm yourself and do not get a weapon, you have your unarmed kit here as well.
So let's talk about those moves, yeah?
Yeah, that leads us directly into basic moves. So go ahead, Ethan.
All right, so whether you've got a weapon or not, your grounded options, you have 3 options. So, Ethan, why don't you demonstrate to us the neutral option for unarmed? And that'll just be a simple like punch combo. If I have scythe though, it'll look different. I'm just gonna do an upward slash, and that'll pick him up so that it combos into other aerial moves. But yeah, there's your neutral. You also have a side move and a down move, and you input those by pressing your movement stick or your movement key in the direction you want the move to go. For neutral, that's either no input or an upward input. And for side, of course, you move in that direction, and you can do that input. And then for down, it's the same. Either direction, you can use that input.
Yes. So example, if you want to switch the direction you're doing a down move in, you're going to have to input it diagonally, but mostly in the down direction. And that's how I am switching the direction of my down light attack here. So all of these moves we're doing are examples of light attacks. So if Ethan picks up spear here, as I also have spear, all basic weapons are going to have the same basic moves. So what I mean is basically every weapon will have the same basic move set. So like if I do neutral X here, same with him. We're different characters, yet our down X, side X, and neutral X are all the same.
Alright, so here Ethan is referring to the moves as side X, neutral X. Often we refer to those as light moves because they use the light attack button as opposed to the heavy attack button. So in online guides and stuff, you'll hear about side light, neutral light, down light. That's the type of move we're referring to here. Right.
Because the weapon is, the weapon is consistent.
Exactly. And the input isn't always X. Again, for different control schemes, you'll have different inputs. But the light attacks all look the same for every weapon. So all Spear Legends will have these 3 grounded moves. But when you're in the air, the set is completely different. You want to talk about that?
Sure. So, same thing. There's still the same directions all apply. You have 3 moves in the air, basic moves, with your light attack. And that'll be neutral, down, and side. Those will be inputting with the light attack key in the direction in the air, and you get an entire different move set in the air. And these are often used to contest moves or approach to the ground, and you'll just want to use, that's your complete new move set to use there.
Yep.
Okay. So those are all our light attacks. Ethan, you want to cover the heavy attacks here really quick?
Yeah. So notice again, we'll just recap here. All Spear Legends will have the same light attacks, but if we talk about our heavy attacks or our signatures when we're holding a weapon, we'll have different attacks. So I'll use my neutral heavy attack right here to show you my neutral signature on Mirage with her spear. But Hattori's neutral signature is going to look a lot different, you see? They're different attacks, they have different statistics as far as damage and force. So your signature attacks are unique to each character, and they are only available when you're grounded, besides one exception, which is the gravity cancel. And we'll talk about that in a more advanced video.
Yes. And as Ethan said, they're different, each different moves. They're a bit slower than regular attacks, but they do more damage and have more force, which means they knock out your opponent sooner. So it's kind of more higher risk, higher reward, basically. Another thing is if you use heavy attacks in the air, though, you get your recovery if you push up or just click neutral, and then you get a ground pound if you click down. And all of those are the same for the like if as long as the character has. So for example, if any spear character, same recovery, same ground pound, no matter what. The only thing that is different from character to character will be their grounded heavy attacks, which on a controller is activated by Y.
Or B, yeah.
Yeah, or B.
And then the unarmed kit also has heavy attacks. We call those heavies because every legend has the same ones. They're not different to each character, so they're not really a character's signature moves. But those are the heavy attacks.
Exactly.
Side, down, and neutral for your information.
Okay, that leads us on to dodging, which is what you want to do. So we talked about the offense, and now we're going to talk about a little bit of defense, which also can be implemented into offense later, but for now we're just going to focus on as a defensive topic here. So, essentially, if I am playing spear, I have a string of side X, down X. That will hit if he does not dodge. However, if Ethan was to input a dodge, which on a controller is one of the triggers, he will not get hit. He will get invulnerability frames and will dodge my second attack. So for example, he will dodge after my side light, and the down light will not hit. So side light, so side light attack, and down light attack. And basically, he dodged the second attack because there's a window for dodging. So, dodges are able to be used to dodge attacks. You have on the ground, you have a spot dodge, just like this, which is just clicking the dodge button in no direction. Remember, if you input a dodge with a direction, you're going to dash. So you want to do it in place to dodge. In the air, you have every direction, up, down, and then side to side, and all the diagonals. And yeah, so in the air, your dodges have a longer cooldown. So if you dodge in the air, you have a 3-second cooldown. If you dodge on the ground, it is a 1-second cooldown. So
or if you touch the ground, yeah.
Or yeah, if you touch the ground, it resets the cooldown, so it's quicker. So you want to be mindful of that, so you can't just spam dodge. However, you want to make sure you're using your dodge in the optimal scenario so that you can dodge out of strings and combos. Strings you can't, combos you cannot dodge out of, strings you can.
Yeah, so as we mentioned earlier, the side light, down light combo on spear is not a combo at all. It's a string because he can dodge out of it.
Yes, which that time I did not dodge, and then this time I will dodge.
Oh, misinput by me here. Let's try it again.
Oh.
All right, now let's learn how to recover back to stage if you get hit off. So right now we're both in very low damage. You see in the top right, our characters have that white bar underneath them. That means we're completely undamaged. But as you get into more red damage percentages, it goes white into yellow and then into orange and then red finally. You start to take more force from most attacks. For instance, that neutral light will hit me farther and farther the more damaged I am. You can see I'm already starting to get hit a little farther than I was originally. So eventually you'll start getting hit off stage, and then what do you do then? That's actually where most new players lose their stocks, is by not knowing how to recover. So back to the movement that we talked about, you have 3 jumps, and that even applies off stage. If I jump, I know I'm off stage, I have 2 more because I used 1 to get out here. And even if I just dash off, I still have 2 more to use. But you notice that once I use my 3 jumps, my character sort of grays out, and that's a way to tell if someone has no more jumps. So 1, 2, 3, and now I'm a little dimmer. All the colors on my character get dimmed. So that's one way to tell if your opponent has no more jumps. So Ethan, if I get hit off stage, what are my total recovery options? I know we discussed I have jumps, but what else can I use?
Okay, so as we discussed, if you use a heavy attack in the air, you also get a recovery. So you have 3 jumps and a recovery, although you can replace those jumps with recoveries as well. But you'll notice the more recoveries I use, the less distance they make me travel. So that's called an exhausted recovery. So ideally, for maximum distance, not necessarily strategically, it depends on what you're doing. For maximum distance, though, you want to use 3 jumps and a recovery. Generally speaking, that is not always true. but if you're recovering, that is generally the most distance you can get on most weapons. That is not always true, as I said, but that'll kind of be what I stick to normally. For example, I fall off stage, 2 jumps, recovery, back to stage. So what new players often miss is they forget about the recovery. So like, for example, I didn't recover there, I'm just going to die. But it's really important for new players to remember that they got to use the recovery, just as Ethan did there.
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, my recovery doesn't get me all the way back to stage. So I'm jumping twice, recover, I'm not there, dodge. You can, as we talked, directional dodge to stage will help you get that last little bit to get back to stage. So you can dodge in the direction of the stage. That'll give you dodge frames to dodge an attack, as well it'll move you in the direction of the stage. So yeah, you want to make sure you keep all those in mind as you're recovering. And yeah, so that's the basics for every weapon. Some weapons have light attacks in the air that'll make you get more horizontal distance, but it's a little bit more advanced for our current topic right now. So we're going to keep on the fact of just using all your jumps, recovery, and then dodging to stage. And that should get you back to stage most of the time. Some maps will be too big if you travel too far and you'll be able to make it back. But if you follow those guidelines, generally you'll be able to make it back to stage if you have all your options.
Exactly. And so yeah, keep in mind that the dodge, if you use it off stage, does have a longer cooldown. So notice if I dodge and then touch the ground, I can dodge right afterward. There's just a 1 second cooldown. But if I'm off stage and I dodge, even if I touch the wall, I'm pressing dodge as fast as I can, and I get it back after 3 whole seconds. So that can be very confusing for other players, as they don't understand why they can't dodge, and then they might fall off the stage like I just did.
Yes, just like that. Okay, well that basically covers our in-game, in-match guide there for like basics. So just keep in mind, we got dodges, dashing, basic movement, recovering to stage, picking up weapons, and then heavy attacks versus light attacks. All of those we just covered. And now we're going to move on to more general, broad topic. And this topic is playing all the weekly legends and all of the weapons as well. Basically, me and Ethan are both playing weekly, the current free legends this week. There are a couple of them. And each week these rotate. New players can play them for free. If you play the game, you're going to get something called gold, and you can use gold to purchase a legend permanently, so you can play them no matter what the weekly rotation is. However, so when you're starting off, you don't have any free legends except for console has Orion. I don't think PC has any.
Yeah, I don't think so.
And you're going to go with that weekly rotation, and you're going to play them. And me and Ethan, E squared, we recommend that you play all of them and all of their weapons, and to find what you like. Try out even their signatures, what weapons they have, feel out what you like, try out everything. And you can use that to find your possible main or something you want to start working with and to learn more in depth.
Yeah, precisely. Be sure to give everyone a chance, because even though some weapons are seemingly more difficult than others, they might just not work with your playstyle right now. So just give everything a chance, and keep an open mind as you're learning this game. It can take a while to find out who you really enjoy to play.
And like,
yeah,
some weapons like Scythe, for example, is a decently hard weapon to play. It'll take time. Initially, it'll feel very maybe possibly clunky, but as you play it, it becomes much more like fun and fluid, and it has a pretty high skill ceiling. So just find a weapon you like, what fits your play style, and that'll probably adapt as time goes on and the meta changes. But this game is very balanced. There are definitely metas and weapons that are stronger than others at certain times, but you can win with any weapon and any legend, yeah, even up to the very high levels of play.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And speaking of high levels of play, it may seem so far off right now, and it very well could be, but eventually you'll get there, and it'll be a lot easier if you're having fun while you're doing it. Trust me, from our experience. Playing ranked can be really frustrating, but once you start learning to have fun while you're playing, it can be a much more enjoyable time. So play legends that help you enjoy the game. Don't force yourself into something that isn't fun just so that you can win. And again, just have fun with it. Play with a friend, invite someone else to join you on Brawlhalla. It's a ton of fun.
Yeah, and just remember that losses now will help you get wins in the future. So I know Ethan often makes the reference or has made the reference that the elo in ranked is like a stock market. So whenever you start ranked, your elo is going to go up and it's going to go way back down. It's going to feel pretty defeating, but that elo is going to come back, and no matter how many losses you're going to take, those losses will help you gain skill for new scenarios, and eventually you're going to get that elo back and climb even higher than where you were if you keep persevering and going through it.
Precisely.
And as another good concept of this is to watch your own videos and replays. And we're going to leave a link of one of Eggsoup's, one of the professional Brawlhalla players, and he's a big YouTuber in the Brawlhalla community as well. We're going to link one of his videos to, it's a guide to watch your own replays, which will help you also deduce more personalized what you can work on. But for now, since you're new to the game, just practice the tips we've given you and work on getting those basic things down, and then you can progress to a more advanced level.
Yeah, and that's about all we've got for now. So thanks for tuning in, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, and if you have any more comments, you have any questions, leave them in the comment section, and we'll answer them, or we will make a video to follow up on those and go maybe to some more advanced things.
Yeah. Again, thanks for watching, guys. Tune in next time.
Peace.